Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HSBG podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins. I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. Shady Bunny, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Collins. How are you today?
I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm relatively healthy. Well, I would say I'm probably above that relatively. you
Always make
know?
it sound so weird, like it's just a flesh wound. Not too bad, relatively healthy.
Yeah, we're on our 39th episode. It feels kind of a lot, but it's been good. It's been fine. We always start with, I believe, our weekly overview. So let's get on to that. It's been a quiet week for me in terms of like streaming and stuff, but a hectic week in terms of like content, but behind the scenes stuff. Where got some stuff going on. You have things going on too, some practices and whatnot. But we'll get into that later on. But yeah, how's your week been?
It's been good, honestly. Just every time, like we took a little bit of a leave again, as you may have noticed last week. We didn't have
What
our
are you talking
our podcast, right? So every time I take a small break and then I come back to the game, I just expect to get dumpstered, and I just gain like 500 MR every time I come back. So I feel like I should take more breaks.
The secret is a
But,
good rest, just a good
yeah,
refresh of the
maybe,
mind.
right?
You get to see things from a different perspective, right? The other
Mhm.
people spend a week like locking in their game style, but you get to see the real meta, what the meta actually is. Then you get to learn a style from the real meta. They're learning from the beginning of the patch. They don't even know what the meta is, and you're learning from the real stuff, the real core. So you're just way better than that. You got to think
I
about that.
I will say that I have made some plays where I'm like, yeah, this is creative. This is nice. Like I'm overall not a very creative player. Like I'm usually not gonna dictate the meta, but I can be creative within a system, right? So like I've been doing a lot of stuff with like staying on tier one a bit longer, like specifically like play like patchwork and then stay a tier longer to like force the triples and then I have enough health and then I can like milk longer. It's just like these weird things where you're like, this is so weird, but like my
Makes
patchwork
sense.
does
Makes
really well.
sense in this, box I've created. It's a very nice box with a lot of options.
Yeah, it's like this in this triple into a 4-drop box, I can be creative within the box. So yeah. Now overall, week's been good. Today was also just great. Like peaked at top 5 for a little bit. That was really cool. Um, it's yeah, like the meta suits me, but I think most of the time the end of a meta suits me.
Yeah.
Like I get going at the end, when
Yeah,
it's about to
it's a
change.
shame they changed everything up last week with that huge patch, So, we're
Huge,
gonna talk
yes.
about that. But yeah, I think I wanted to start this podcast off just kind of reflecting about this last year. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that happened this year, in the game, outside the game, and I just felt it would be cool to reflect about it. We kind of did that on the round table a bit. And I thought that was cool. I thought that was interesting just to kind of see
Okay.
how many things actually changed within the game, and just kind of reminisce about. Like Quillboars wasn't in the game at all, right, at the start of the year, and it's really become a big part of some of the stuff you can do.
Yeah.
And
That was my first, I think, tribe that I was playing the game a lot when I dropped. Like I missed dragons, I missed elementals, so I think I missed pirates. So it was cool to experience that, to be comfortable with the meta and then have the
a
tribe
whole
drop and
new,
then
yeah,
adapting to that. Yeah.
it's definitely a different experience, right? It does almost feel like the game changes or shifts.
Oh, we were just playing pigs for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, I know, but like past that point when it like things settle down, right? You do get to
Yeah.
see like, well, this minion type really changes how I look at things or how I can do things with different other types or game styles and stuff like that. So I do think that's pretty cool. Just seeing new fundamental shifts to the game. And speaking of that, I like Dark Moon prizes as well. I think that was this year's where they added that and then they re-added it as well. Seeing like
Yeah,
them
I think
adding like
so.
a whole event that changes um, how you look at the game, and it was nice. Like I kind of enjoyed it. Like the obviously like the one issue was like there was no balance throughout it, But generally, the idea of it was really nice, and I think it's cool to see more of that and that kind of execution, just like with more balance.
Yeah, just like a side note on the prizes, like that was just like Khadgar transition heaven with Brand's blessing, where you would see people do this so often, where they just have the Khadgar ready, have the token in the hand, and they just go like, "Give me Brand's blessing," and it just pop off on that turn. So there were so many. Just we have nutty boards in this meta as well with early Nest Major and an early Doomsayer and such, but there were some you could clearly tell. Oh, this person just did a transition like that. You don't normally
You
never
just have to look at their how many
you just
triples
don't
they
have
have,
7
right?
Caligos most of the
Yeah.
time, otherwise yeah, there's, these transition boards or something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the game calmed down a bit after that, where they nerfed, Khadgar interaction and no more Brand's Blessing.
I mean, they're still brand, right? Like, like you can still
You can
kind of do
still do
it.
it, you can still do it. I did a little bit of a transition today, it's just it's sort of a weak imitation of
Yeah.
what you used to do, right? Where
It's not the same.
So for anyone who's like maybe a little new to the game or wasn't really deep into the game when Khadgar interaction was different, the game used to remember how many tokens it was supposed to put on the board, and while you were tripling, the token would combine and just pop into your hand. So as long as you had enough board space for the one triple, it would just keep pumping out triples. So you just have like golden Khadgar with a brand, and it's like token, 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 token. It's just like you play 10 triples in that turn quite easily
Yeah,
if you hit a few
it was
tokens.
very common for one token generator to give you two triples, like by
Yeah,
itself,
like
and that
two, just yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't happen anymore, right? Where one token generator best gives you one triple, but it
Which
used
is
to
still
be.
strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It is still.
Like, oh, every alley cat and titan dry roll is only 1/6 drop. That's you know.
That's true. You're right. It's still
Yeah.
really strong, but it used to be the case where you could spend your whole turn just like rolling for allies and murlocs and buying that, playing that, and then popping off as quote unquote and getting like a full board of 6 drops like easily. So
Yeah, so it was actually it goes further than that. It was actually quite common to just like take gas coilers and play that and hold the Caligos in your hand. And the next turn you just sell all the gas coilers and you go again. And you just look for more tokens and you just hold more Caligos in your hand. And again, you just play some Imp Mama and gas coiler for tempo. And you just keep going until you have a bunch of Amalgadons and Caligos in your hand or Ragnaros, whichever one you wanted to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
There was some crazy, crazy things that
It
would
gets
happen.
obnoxious because you end up tripling the 6 drops, of course, right? So you're getting more 6 drops from the triples of a 6 drop. Maybe you're tripling
Yeah.
6 drops, like you're already like, I'm good, but you just get so much value from there, and it's hard to
It
compete
was,
with
it was
that.
a good it was a good nerf. It was it I think right now it's probably appropriate risk reward where the reward is nutty still, but the risk is very high. And before I feel like the risk wasn't very high. It's like you get 2 tokens for 6 drops. The risk wasn't really there. Sure, you still had to execute it, but it was extremely commonplace to see those transitions.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of like minions, there was the minion rework as well, right? I do think that kind of
Yes.
was a pretty big change for the game. Just kind of seeing more strategies be implemented, right? The event stuff is still, we're still in that one. But
Yeah.
I like the demon adjustments with Azul and Felva. I thought that's really cool. And
I think that's probably their biggest patch so far, right? The one where they overhauled the minions, and in my somewhat limited time compared to yours in the game, it's been probably the most enjoyable patch where it's been cool to see those reworks.
is that the biggest patch? I think there's been like three really big patches: the dragon patch, the Crowbar patch, and the minion. I think those
Yeah,
are.
I'm just thinking that you add the whole new type, but just changing all these minions and like, okay, we're gonna remove this Tide Hunter crap,
The
God, we're
the
gonna remove
dragon
this
patch
micro
also
machine.
changed minions too. Like
All right.
that one was
I just
really
I
big.
just feel like this sorry, please
No,
finish
I'm
your
done.
sentence.
Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for me, I guess I just really enjoyed them tidying up saying like, what is this Micro Machine still doing here? What is this Tide Hunter still doing here? Nobody plays this card. Nobody wants that card. There's still a few cards like that. I would say something like a Scalebane feels like it's just, it's not with the times. It's just like Scalebane is a card in regular Hearthstone, and therefore we have that card. And there's certain cards that exist in regular Hearthstone that you still play. Something like a Brand Bronzebeard, but it's like that one is very just very good in the game. Like you want that. There's a couple of cards who were somewhat put. Like I think what was one of those really unexciting cards. This like Sated Threshodon at the start of the game, which was this 5/7. If it died, it summoned some Murlocs. That's
yeah.
That was such a bland card. It was just like, well,
it
was in the
pretty good in this patch, right? With the
because of Avenge, right? Yeah. You like taunt it with a Houndmaster.
And then
it's
also
like
with the SI, right? Some of the Murloc could get poisoned.
Yeah, I feel like it's still like a crappy Void Lord though, for the most part.
Well, it's a Void Lord that can get poisoned. With the S-Hyphen, you have a golden S-Hyphen, 2 of them get poisoned. Like, that's really pretty broken, right? And you just like,
I guess you can set that up.
You can abuse it. Yeah, I'm just thinking
it's still quite. It's not something you would see very often, I think. But it's more like that. Yeah, it's more like a cool thing.
I'd do it, like that'd be my like secret tech, that kind of thing.
So you'd have to taunt it probably and move it a bit back so the tokens wouldn't actually attack before 3 things die.
Well, right? You taunt like multiple things, maybe. Like you'd have like 3 taunts or something. Have that like.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you would need to find the balance between the minion dying and then the Murloc spawn, and then you would still need 3 other things to die. So I'm saying you would want to say the threshold.
You don't necessarily need 3 other things to die, right? Because the SI will absorb, like it can save that, right? So you could have one thing die, like have one thing left on the SI to die, and then it pops, and then you immediately get the pops. So it's not as hard as you think.
Sure.
Do that. So we're just spitballing. Just like
we will move on from this extremely hypothetical
we were about
conversation.
2021, and we're in here like 2019.
Be on the lookout. Say the Threshodon making his comeback with SI7 Baroque interaction. There we go.
It is cool to see some of the.
Apparently, I'm a bit loud compared to you, so let's get some feedback from chat.
Imagine listening to chat. All right, I'll change things up. Hopefully, this is better. Shady too loud. I've never heard that before. Anyways, speaking of that, right? There was also like Diablo events and whatnot, and that one's pretty recent. Yeah.
Diablo who? Yeah, no, not familiar with that.
But I mean, it's kind of cool to see him trying things, right? Like I wouldn't say this one was like a super big success or anything, right? The first part of it, like no one's playing it, right? And the second part of it, everyone's playing it, but it was too powerful. It didn't really feel like fun for everyone involved, right? Like, maybe the Diablo players having fun, but everyone else is like, I killed 5 people at once, right? That's pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, imagine dying there, right? And it felt weird. So that one's a little bit weird, but it is interesting to think about it and see how they improve on next time. Another thing that was introduced this year, I believe, was like cosmetics, like really big cosmetics, right? We had the bundles coming in where you can change your hero skins, and then they also added the background, the player boards changing as well, right? Like there's only one, right? So there's not like a lot of variety. You can't really express yourself with the player boards, but it is a start. It's like kind of a late start, right? We've been asking it for a while, but it's good to see them actually like starting to do that kind of thing, and hopefully we'll see more interesting cosmetics and more unique cosmetics in the future. So I have to talk about that as well. Now there are more things. I mean, there's a lot that happened this year. I also be remiss to talk about tournament stuff, right? Like we've had the Twitch Rivals tournaments where we've done pretty well. Just general, like I remember at the Battlegrounds Brawl way back when I think Quibbles were just being introduced. I was a brawl for that. I participated in that one. But decent amount of casting, I would say, for me. We've casted, I believe, the Nicolinum and Corn tournaments as well. Like that's usually fun. I like casting. I mean, I have some coming up It's spoilers, but yeah, I do enjoy that whenever I get the time and the opportunity, and then also the big invitational that I participated in. That was pretty important, I would say, and pretty cool to participate and do well in. So pretty cool to see all the tournaments. Hopefully there'll be more, right? Lobby Legends, right? We have that guaranteed for 2022. We'll see if we can participate in that some capacity, and then see what other tournaments they have in store for us. What do you think about any of the tournaments? Anyone's jump out to you?
The rivals tournaments
The
were
rival
just
tournaments.
extremely fun. I'm still really grateful that the invite structure was fairly loose, where it wasn't super rigid. They're like, oh, we want these players and these players only. It was just like, RDU, go grab 3 others. It was just like, yes, okay. Because I feel in that environment, if you apply yourself and you have good results, like people are going to want to play with you, right? Because it's obviously they want to win. And I think we had a team of very competent players and good communication, no ego shit. So it was super fun to play in that
Little
tournament.
ego, little ego.
Really, I was like, what? I'm not first seed. What, who the hell do you think you are?
No, I was like, you can be first seed. I don't want it. let me stomp on the lower seats here.
Yeah, everyone's like, put me in lobby 4, please. Like, I'd be sure. I will say, the first time around or the second time around, that first lobby felt very different. So yeah, that was even though everyone was really strong, like man, that lobby 1 was just the lion's den. It was very super competitive.
That's how it goes sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just like games would just go so fast. You're like, oh, it's over already. Okay, cool.
Just want to kill you.
Yeah, everyone's killing each other. Yeah.
Another thing I think really important to talk about the podcast. We started it last year, imagine. Right. That's pretty important. I think and it's pretty cool, I think, for me to have a outlet each week to talk about like the different changes in the meta and our thoughts on it. Cause I really didn't really feel like that was something like that, at least that I was looking at or could see, where it's like, oh, this is the change, this is my thoughts, this is these players opinions about these changes before they happen or right as they happen a lot of the time. So it was pretty cool to have like that rapid fire opinion takes on all the changes in the game. I always like that, because I would do patch reviews like on my channel generally at every patch, right? But it's like a 10-minute thing. I'm just like spitballing, like, oh yeah, here's my blind thoughts on stuff. But being able to think about it and sit down, talk with someone else, be like, oh, what do you think about this shit? Oh, I never thought about that. Like so often with you, I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that, and that makes a ton of sense and really changes my opinions on things. So it was nice to have that there, and really enjoyed this.
Yeah, that goes both ways, of course. It's just when you get to that's how you think, essentially, right? You have a thought and then you bounce that back and see, oh, what does this person think about it? So that just two people together, it just helps you think. And there's been some stuff that we've been right about, and then some stuff that we both missed.
What?
We never miss things.
You don't have any examples of that second situation.
We deleted those episodes. It's fine. You're right. There's no evidence whatsoever. So, oh man,
it's also really cool when I'm doing the round table and you're like not there, and it's like Shady would say this right here. Shady would be talking about this right now.
I need to be able to stay up longer for those and do them with you, because I feel like you are indeed. I'm there in spirit, so, which I appreciate.
Yes, and maybe the most important thing, children coming into our lives. Not mine, but well, I mean, in a way, I would say Shady coming in, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty big change, I would say, throughout the years, right? Anytime you have a child and having to deal with that, and COVID as well. I mean, I haven't mentioned that, but there's a lot of like outside factors besides the game, like adjusting things, making our perceptions and change like that. So it is interesting just to see, looking back a year and thinking, oh wow, my thought process is different than a year ago or so because of this, and this. So that's also pretty cool.
Yeah. It's your definition of a good night's sleep definitely gets adjusted. You're like, nice, 6 solid hours, huge.
Yeah, that's a bit scary, but
yeah, I mean, children are great cause they don't want to sleep. Yeah, it's less sleeping for definitely a while.
I don't know.
I mean, 6 hours is solid.
It's not. The sleep's very important for your life. You were just cutting out, a couple 2 or 3 hours just casually every night. That's gonna affect you quite a bit.
Your body adjusts somehow. All right. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. So I'm indeed very happy that we started, because the story of how the podcast started is literally just like, hey, you want to do something? And then like before one person can ask, I want to do a podcast. Hey, me too. Right? It's just both having the same idea about like you have these,
In sync,
that
kind of
thing. Yeah, it was basically this void where it's like, okay, like I don't see this, and it'd be cool, right, to have high level players giving their opinion on patches and just in general talking and exploring concepts about the game.
And you need the right, co-caster or whatever. You need the right, support. Someone will be like, hey, we're doing this today. And then you're like, no, I don't want to. And you're like, I don't care what you want. We're doing this. Get your butt out. Flank the topics, Collins. He doesn't do that. But I like to imagine that he does, just like, oh yeah. But I'm the one.
I type a very friendly message, and then I step away from the computer. It's like, I can't believe we're not starting yet. Oh my god.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's been always a pleasure to hang out with Shady and just talk about whatever we want. So it's pretty cool. Anyways, we've been on this for quite a while, a lot longer than I thought.
That's how it goes.
All right, so we'll always start off. It's tournament season. It's the beginning of the year. There are always tournaments at the beginning of the year. That is not really true. I have no idea. That's just a statement I'm making up right now. But let's pretend like that's true.
Every month is tournament season.
I hope so.
I do see that there is more interest. I think that we are getting to the point where Battlegrounds gets more recognition as a format, where it's just, okay, a lot of people play this, and a lot of people like watching competitions. So do something with that.
Yeah, it's right. It's right there for your fingertips. All you advertisers, it's right there, guys. I'm just gonna say, But yeah, we got one starting tomorrow. Actually, yeah, it's from January 7th to the 9th, 10 a.m. EST. Kelv VPN Streamer Cup. That's the technical name, but I just put Hearthstone Battlegrounds because it looks cooler. We got a lot of great players. I did not get to play, but I am casting. So I'm casting with some great people: Aveline, Nina's Noob, and Pucky Plays. And then we're gonna be the English broadcast, and then there's also gonna be a Russian broadcast with Signed and Red Panda Sleeps. So that's gonna be cool if you like to participate. A lot of great people: Celerity, Solicious, Shady Bunny's playing. I don't have any bias on who I want to win, by the way. But there's a lot of great players: RDU, Jackie Chan, Silver Name. A lot of great folks there. So it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see and criticize. I don't know. Do I really criticize? I don't criticize that hard when I criticize.
You're just gonna criticize my plays.
I will definitely. I will admit I will have a much higher criticizing threshold for Shady than with anyone else in this competition. Anytime I see Shady, I'm like, I don't know about this. I'm gonna make sure that you guys understand why I disagree with this one. But other than that, it's gonna be lots of fun there. So definitely tune in for that if you like Battlegrounds content. But I'm assuming if you're here, like, you definitely like it and you want to make sure you check it out. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I always ask you this: any competition you're looking out for, and you always give me the safe answer. I don't want to hear it. Give me some names. Who are you gonna?
I'm afraid of that main caster, man. He's vicious. He's going after it. Yeah, I mean, the lineup is stacked again, right? Well, that's the cool. So the thing I do really enjoy the format is that we're gonna be playing a lot of games. So
Oh,
and the groups are being shuffled the whole time. So the it's 2 days of group stage, and then like the top 8 players advance
right.
to the final day, and that I think is super cool because we are still playing battlegrounds, and there's obviously variants. Are you getting good heroes? Are you getting good starting shops, etc.? And the more sample size you have, the more volume, the more chance that the people that are playing better those days are going to advance. So that's I think that's the first time where I see this like high volume, which I do really enjoy. That's I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, I do think it's gonna be like a fairer competition compared to like some of the 1 day tournaments where you're just like, let's do everything 1 day, 5 games, decides
Yeah.
everything, right? Like,
5 rounds, and if
yeah,
you have bad heroes 3 times, stuff like
yeah, you're getting 16 minimum, right? It's 16 games minimum. That's a
I,
lot.
yeah, I'd have to check again. But there's
I believe it's 8 games a day. Like, I should know
we're
this,
we're
you
we're
know.
playing 2 days, right?
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
yeah, if you're gonna be playing 2 days, that's gonna be a lot of games.
yeah.
It's
So
maybe not as many games as we get in a latter day where we're just spamming, but it's
yeah.
still good, and it's good anyway because you don't want too many games on one day because then you're just getting those like, oh, my brain's not working at the end kind of games, and you know
I
those are
would
worth
say
it.
8 games of like high level, like for me, that my brain wouldn't be working at the end. Like, I feel
But like we're getting some breaks, right? Because
okay.
the games aren't simultaneous, so you have one lobby, then the other lobby, one lobby, then the other lobby. So you do get like I don't know, 20 minutes minimum to like flush everything out. And
Oh, so maybe you're getting 8 games and it's not 16, and you're getting like half of that if you're not playing every game.
yeah, we'll have to see the details. Either way, it's still a good enough volume, I
Okay,
would say,
yeah,
for
that's fair.
because you got 2 days, right?
Yeah, I should know the format. I don't even know the format. That's crazy, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting tournament. But wait, there's more. We also have another tournament coming in next week, I believe, from January 12th to the 16th. We've got Solicious Battlegrounds Invitation. No, sponsored by HSBG and Alienware. Yeah, I don't know why I added that, but it's on the slide. I had to say that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's good. Why not? Hey, like more recognition to the people that help make these tournaments happen for sure.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So this is the type of person to be like, I want to do a Battlegrounds Invitational. And then just goes on Twitter. It's like, who wants to sponsor this? And everyone's like, yeah, I got it. I was
Let me throw
like,
money at you.
yeah, I'm like, damn, that's impressive. So, yeah, she's setting this up. It's gonna be pretty cool. This turn is also super stacked, which I find. I mean, I'm casting in this one as well. So I like, fortunately, I
Why
don't.
are you not playing, Collins? Why are you not playing?
Okay, the reason I'm not playing is because I have a lot of like, I have a, I'm casting in the other tournament, right? And I haven't playing that much, in my opinion, right? Like, we've been doing other things this week, so I feel like I
Yeah,
haven't practiced enough, and I don't like playing in tournaments. I feel I can lose. Like, that's just a personal thing. I know it's a weird statement to say, but that's
sure.
just my mentality, right? Like, I'm not gonna play in a tournament to lose, maybe
You're just
get
like this
second, you know.
undefeated fighter who's like, I don't want to take that fight, man. Fuck that
Yeah,
shit.
and I'm already casting, and I like casting, and it was like it's a easy opportunity. I told Celissa if they're missing a person, I will play, but if they're
Sure.
not, then I'll just cast. That's my look. But I didn't really want to play knowing that I'm not in the right mentality to win, because I do think mental's really important in these type of tournaments. And I just didn't really feel like my mental was there to like dominate and beat everyone in the competition.
That's
I'm just
it's
like,
kind of a missed opportunity for us to just have like the Rocky theme on repeat for like a week straight as we do co-ops, like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Collins
Like, I would
getting
be,
ready.
yeah, I would be playing and doing co-ops if I was like preparing to, compete in these tournaments, right? But I'm not, right? So that's probably why I've been like just chilling, working on
Uh,
casting, getting information and stuff like that. But yeah, so uh That's why I'm not playing. That's
The next one you're in though, right? The next
I
one
mean,
you're in.
Lobby Legend. If yeah, I'm gonna be working on that one for sure.
Sure.
So I'll definitely be around for tournaments this year. That's just the reason you asked, and I gave you the actual reason.
I think it's a very fair reason.
All right, so yeah, we got another tournament. So this is Battlegrounds Invitational. Should be fine. So if you like high level BG content, you're in for a treat this month. A lot of good stuff. And this is just, these next 2 weeks. Who knows what's gonna go on in the weeks after this one? I have no clue, but maybe there's gonna be more tournaments. And also, like, once they fully address what the lobby leader system is gonna look like, whether it's like, top percentage on the leaderboard or different other criterias, right? Then you also see other people like jumping out of the workforce to stream and grind and whatever. So that should be fun either way. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, definitely hope for the more qualifying or qualifier type approach where you have 16 or 32 people or even more
Yeah.
play qualifier. That'd be great.
Yeah, I really think it'd be weird and a missed opportunity if it's just like top four. That's it.
Top
like,
four. I was nearly there today.
So. Yeah, I know. I believe in you, Shay. I'm just saying, like, it's like that's so rough, where it's like instead of like top 16, top 32, then you play in a qualifying bracket, then you go, and then that one feels a little bit better. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
If you have top 32, you have the entire front page and more. So
yeah, you'll definitely like the issue with like top four is like you're gonna cut a lot of people from even trying, and I think that's a shame, right? Where people are like, that's too rigid, Where if it's like top 32, it's like okay, like that's very doable.
I mean,
wow.
That's
we're
very
biased.
high level.
We're biased, but like that's very.
Dude, that's more than the front page. What the hell?
Oh man, I hear it as I was talking about it.
You do have to keep in mind, like those spots are going to get a lot tougher, right? When people actually give a shit.
Not really. I'm not worried per se. So.
Yeah, once they start introducing cash prizes, people care. So
yeah, I mean,
I do expect some more competition for the front page.
I don't, but you do you, Shady. Anyways, moving on. I believe we've got an analysis section. We haven't really done this in a while. I feel like there's always been some random thing taking place of like talking about a hero or talking about a minion. We haven't really it's been like a couple of podcasts, but we're bringing it back. Yeah, back to our roots, boys. The hero I wanted to talk about today was Maligos, and there's a specific reason why. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Maligos is technically the best hero right now. And I was looking at the stat and I was like, You look at HR's replay, better than Darryl. Darryl, I would say statistically just the safest hero. Like very, very hard to be last if you're playing it like trying not to be last. I guess if you like just use your hero power, it's hard to be last, and you would say, this is one of the safest heroes, one of the best. But Maligos has said, hey, I do it better. I'm relatively safe, and I power spike way harder than you could ever do, Darryl. Get out of that spot. That's my seat now. I'm the king, or so. I thought that was pretty interesting, and it makes sense looking at the meta why Maligos is the strongest. And I think if you're not like fully fleshed into the meta, this is like a weird thing to look at and be like, Maligos is the strongest? That's weird. What about Hook Tusk? What about Jandis? What about, any of the other, Darryl, Ysera, all that other stuff. But no, it's Maligos. And it makes sense because it's like, I think the key thing to look at is like, sixes aren't the strongest, I guess that's just a weird statement to say, but sixes aren't the best minions right now. It's the 4-drops. It's the Nest Matron. It's the Light Spawn. It's sometimes the 2/6. What's it called? Doomsayer. Yeah, the Doomsayer. Getting that early is such a huge advantage. Just an absolutely astronomical advantage if you hit those three, with the right setup compared to anything else. You can play that and then go 6. You can play that and 6. You can play that stay 4, get more, win the game. There's so much to do if you hit it. And this hero, with the right setup, with the right minion types, tokens in, elementals in, demons in, that kind of stuff, you can really perfect the setup, perfect the avenge proc, and you also get the chance to reroll even if you miss. You also like there's a lot of value in having the ability to reroll ones and reroll fours, and I think that's really why it's so effective in this particular meta. Why it's jumped up and became number one, because you get that safety net. That safety, if you start with a token, you don't take damage pretty much, right? If you start with a token, you get two 1-drops. You get acolyte, you're like, I'm not taking damage, and then you stay warrior curve, and then you shoot for a 4, maybe you shoot for 2 4s, and if you miss, you just re-roll over and over until you get the avenge minion of your choosing that you like. Well, not of your choosing, but the avenge minion that suffice. Like you hit one of the three essentially, like, and you're generally happy, and you'll keep that, right? And if you don't, then you keep rolling. So there's a lot of safety in that. There's a lot of power in that, and you get it early, just really really strong. So definitely understand why it's technically number one in the win rates, but it is kind of weird if you don't understand the meta or don't understand why what you do with the hero to make it so strong. What's your thoughts, Shadi?
I think that I mean, obviously it's a good indication, the win rates, but like Darryl on 2, for instance, for me is Darryl is basically unplayable. That's at the
Okay, so
don't
in the
care.
round table, dude, everyone's just like hating on Darryl, and I'm just like, Darryl's still like, you gotta give Darryl respect for being safe. You gotta give Darryl, like, even if you don't.
Yeah, but you lose MMR for third, kind of, right?
But
It's
that's
just,
that's literally you guys. That's not everyone
I
else.
know, but I'm talking about my experience, right? On the
But
high level.
I can't be here and be like, yes, if you're literally top 10, Darryl, don't play. But if you're everything else, play. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't be here and not say that.
Let's put it like this: if you gain MMR for coming in 4th, play Darryl.
That's
I think
90+% of the player base.
No, that's 99+%.
I'm being lenient, that's 95, something percent of the player base.
I think you're right in, like, if we are talking about this, because someone might be listening and be like, Shady said Darryl's not that great. Like, yeah, I mean, normally speaking, Darryl is a plus MMR machine, because getting a top 4 is somewhat easy if you are, if you're spiking at the right times, you're buying the right units, you're dancing properly, you're managing your money, then yes. But once you start losing MMR for 4th, it's not as appealing anymore. And you really need to go for these heroes like a Lord Barra, for instance. For me, is infinitely much better than a Darryl, because with Baroff, you just have that flexibility, and you can do tier 1, or you can level, and you can go for 4s, or you can go for 6s, and there's that. So, I preface that to see where I'm not sure if Mellie would be my number 1 right now. Probably not.
I agree. Like, there's a lot of bias. Like, after you play the game, I'm like, I'm very comfortable with this hero, and being comfortable with here is like so, I think, strong. I guess just knowing what to do in weird situations.
For me, Mellie is up there. I think I took a Mellie.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I took a Mellie today over a Gallywix with 2 tokens in, or 2 of the tribes in. I'll put it like that, just because I was like, no, I'm gonna take Mellie, because my comfort level is just so. Maybe it wasn't Galley. It was another like really really top tier hero. I was just like, I'm gonna take Mellie because I love the flexibility.
I could see it. It's the best.
Yeah, it's what you talked about. It's I think I had this. Yeah, it was a Gallywix actually, and I think the shop beautifully illustrated why Mellie is more consistent. Is my shop was trash, but then I zapped one and it turned into a cat.
A token, right? Yeah.
And then I hero power the cat, and then next turn I can hero power the other body, and suddenly your train is rolling. Whereas if you're a galley, you buy the crap minion and you're already feeling awful. It's one of those chroma wing pub bot or something, and then you're like, sure, I can take a pup bot or whatever, but I really don't want that. I want things that I can buy and sell and triple and avenge and proc and all that. And when you're playing Maligos, I would say probably the dream lobby for Mellie is you've got your 2 tokens where you have your Alley Cat and your Tidehunter, and then you have demons and
Human elementals, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
because that not only means that you'll have access to Alley Cat, Tidehunter, and Elemental to get on tier 1, it also means that there is Lightspawn, there is Doomsayer, and there is Nest Matron. So
And
as Collins
Icky
said,
Imp. And Icky, you gotta
yeah,
throw
Icky Imp
Icky,
also,
yeah, you gotta throw that
yeah,
in too.
that's great. And you can do stuff like Wrathweaver into Icky Imps, or you can just have Acolytes and Imps, or you can the ideal way that your early game progresses is you don't triple your Acolyte or your Icky Imp, but you find a triple Tidehunter or something like that, something very flexible, something that you don't mind buying and selling, because essentially every Tidehunter you buy, you only buy for 1 gold, because you can sell the two bodies afterwards, and then you've recovered 2 out of your 3 gold. So if you're, say, like, one of the worst triples you could do is like a Chroma Wing, you triple a Chroma Wing. It doesn't help you with Avenge. It costs you 2 gold instead of 1 gold per body. So you want to triple something like
Come
a
on.
Elemental or a yeah, no, it's just you want to triple something like a Elemental or a Tidehunter, and then you want to have your 2 Acolytes or 2 Ickies or 2 Acolytes and 2 Ickies. That can happen with Mellie quite easily if you just roll tokens and you just keep the good minions.
You're hating
And
on Crowaway too hard. It's not good if you're going revenge, but it has other uses. You can like
yeah,
roll
but we are
generator.
talking about Avenge, and we are talking about Maligos.
Fine.
And if you are playing Maligos in a good Avenge lobby, you are not going to want to settle on the Chroma Wing.
No.
That's a good way to lose the game, right? Or to at least not win the game. So, but yeah, there are some moments where you can do stuff, but it's more like Chroma Wing comes out when the Avenge is out. And you're like,
Sure.
okay, well, I'm not going to get a Lightspawn or a Doomsayer. Maybe I can like Jeeve Curve with these Chroma Wings, and then I can I had this actually really cool game on George where I had a Divine Shield on Chroma Wing, and then I got Whelp Smuggler, and then I got Gem Splitter, and then I got Ground Shaker, and then you're Ground Shakering, and then the Whelp Smuggler buffs the dragons. That's all cool, but you can't do that when elementals are in, because while you're getting together your cute comp, some 40-40 Quadra Wind Fury Divine Shield Elemental just destroys your entire board. You're just like, okay, we're playing a different game here. So yeah, there's different power levels. So there are some cool games as well. I think one of the most fun lobbies right now is when beasts are out, when you don't have to worry about Reborn Maxna in the late game. I've had some really cool games.
And elementals are out or what?
Yeah, I mean, so for me,
just beasts, you're like elementals. That's not really
so
different.
I don't mind that, as being selfish as a player, because I feel like I can do elementals quite well, and I can, on top of the light spot stuff, I can also do tier 6 Ragnaros. I feel like Ragnaros is wildly underused. I think it's among top players as well. I have so many games where we do that all the time. You go to 6 and you buy some rags, and suddenly you have a brand and you're popping off. But that particular strategy, I think, loses so much when you introduce Reborn Maxna, because with Reborn Maxna, your big brand, it doesn't matter. Your big rag doesn't matter. And if you're gonna play with Ragnaros in tier 6, you're gonna have the brand, you're gonna have the rag, and those are already really vulnerable to poison. Like, you pretty much need to have either Amalgadons or your own Maxnas, or your
So
poison scam.
do you need Murlocs out too? You're saying Murlocs beast out?
No. Murlocs are totally fine, because you can then on tier 6 do some really cool stuff with your own brand and Primal Fin, and make the Amalgadons on top of it. It just means that stats matter, because I find that
But Murlocs in, do stats matter though?
it's okay if your opponent has poison. It's not okay if your opponent has poison reborn, because then if my 100-100 ties with your 2-6, that's acceptable, assuming that I'm winning and I'm strong and I do have one Amalgadon or 2 Amalgadons or this or that, or I have a cleave, right, and I can make up for something. But once you start having 2 Reborn Maxnas, and your 2 Reborn Maxnas kill my 100-100 rag, my 200 health Amalgadon that lost Divine Shield, my 80-80 brand, like that's not okay anymore. So then you lose a lot of the incentive to go for stats. So that's what I mean with, once beasts are out, you can. I just had the reason, maybe it was just a coincidence, but I just kept looking at my opponent's boards and I was like, stats matter. that's so cool. I can keep buffing. Or in a lot of my games where beasts are in, I just look at the boards and be like, okay, stats don't matter anymore. I gotta stop buying elementals. I gotta sell my rag. I
So
gotta
boring.
find. Yeah, right. I gotta find Nadina to buff my to shield my Amalgadons, and like the game is just very different. So I don't want to turn this into a max now rant. I was just saying like it was really cool when beasts are out because like it's kind of a stupid statement to say, but it's like stats matter. I can keep buffing. Like it actually matters. I can make my minions larger and I have a better chance of winning. Like it does something. So yeah, that was a fun part.
Just make your stats large, even if beasts are in shady. Like, stop playing around your
Yeah,
opponents. Like, come
I've
on.
lost so many. I've lost so many top two fights. I've lost so many top two fights.
Yeah,
Where
you've learned. Okay, I hear you. That's what it sounds
yeah,
like.
man. It's just I was just like, okay, I'll stop. I honestly am like, while we keep talking, I'll send you a screenshot of a board I had today. That top one, then you're gonna just be disgusted.
Yeah,
But
I just even hearing that, I'm already disgusted.
you can visualize what the board's gonna look like. But anyways, to round it out about Mellie, I think the points to take away is Beasts Murlocs is great, right? Because you can transform your tokens. Elementals Demons, I think, is probably even more important than the tokens because as long as you have Elemental, Maligos is pretty good at forcing to get like one Elemental or at least a Swabby or something you can do on your 5 gold turn. Because the 5 gold turn is the tricky one when you're playing tier 1 curve because that's where you would like to have a token to sell and double buy. So Mellie just makes it far more likely that even in a lobby where there's not too many tokens that you still get to do that because it's really awkward to sell a non-token or to just roll 2 times. Like you almost just want to go Jeeve curve if you have to do that. And then as you mentioned, like once you get the 4 drop, you just re-roll that one. Like one of the coolest things to do as a Mellie is to, let's say you triple your Tidehunter, you pull a
Mug.
Primal Fin.
Oh, Primal.
Oh yeah, Mug is also fine, but you pull a Primal Fin. The Primal Fin gives you a Swole Fin, so you get this Swole Fin with 3 other Murlocs on the board. Then you hero power the Primal Fin turns into a Nest Major, and you're like, hey, let's go. And then that's so much tempo and value at the same time. It's
so unfair, but
great.
whatever. Too much unfair in this game anyway. So playing about Maligos, hero powering to get a 4, like whatever. For sure. Like overall, Maligos really strong, really good in this particular meta. Like, I'm surprised how much the buff really like impacted this hero, right? I remember at the beginning of this change, I was like, this is you're just making a bad hero power do it twice. That's what I was that's what I was saying, and I've been very wrong about that one. I would say maybe the most wrong.
I would say in your defense,
it wasn't this Avenge meta.
Yeah, well, the reason like when tier 1 becomes this relevant, like being able to re-roll, because once the Maligos change came in, people were like experimenting with this, but it definitely wasn't there yet. And now that it's so fleshed out, it's like, wow, Maligos is actually amazing for this playstyle. So yeah, it's you do just
that's true.
You do just times 2 the efficiency though, right? So it is but yeah, I do feel you. I think the first, because Maligos was such a meme hero before.
Yeah,
it's like yeah, maybe. But now that tier 1, there's such an emphasis on tier 1. It's no surprise it's doing so well.
I wouldn't say I was correctly wrong. I would say the meta has shifted. There wasn't this tier 4 Avenge stuff rampaging throughout all the metas, but before this change really solidified the strength. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily wrong with my call. I just didn't see the future, the future of tier 4. That's all. That's just shame on me for getting that wrong. I don't think so. I think I just was not informed, Maybe as a director I could have had a better opinion. But yeah, good hero.
I put the screenshot in Discord, by the way. It's such a
well, if I change Discord, I change your camera.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
but it's like my opponent just had like huge elementals and like 3 big whirlies, and it just doesn't matter when Reborn Max is in. That's disgusting.
Feels bad, man.
Because think about it, right? I had Selfless going on Reborn Max now. That means it kills 3 large elementals. I mean, just think about it. It's so nasty. Each Maxna kills 3 of the opponent's
And I
minions.
had a Khadgar, so my accents were reborn twice. You know, like I could
Yeah,
hear
it wasn't that bad. I was running Baron and Ghoul, so I'd kill my own Chad. But yeah. Anyways, it just me just saying that the game right now, at least at high MMR, is far more enjoyable when beasts are out, so you don't have to worry about it.
I don't mind beast too much. You know, it gives me something to do if I miss. Just go Mama Bear or something.
Yes. I think it would be fair to say if Max now would, either be reworked or removed, where then I wouldn't mind Beast at all. But right now, it's probably my least favorite tribe to be in the game.
Okay, fair enough. All right, moving on. We also want to talk about Wrathweaver. Now, I have no idea why we're talking about this. Shay wanted to talk about this minion.
Well, I mean, I think if you're talking about Maligos, it ties in nicely. Where I think Wrathweaver, for the most part, is also underutilized. Where I just
Sure.
don't see it. I don't see Wrathweaver as often on my opponent's boards as on my board, and just well, when we look at Wrathweaver, we can look at what demons there are on tier 1. We have Icky which is just absolutely phenomenal, and then we have Trickster, which is a bit underwhelming early, but has some utility later on. And especially, let's say you're playing something like a Mutinous. Oh man, you really love picking up Wrathweaver and Trickster, and then just later on you can transfer the Wrathweaver to the Trickster, and there's all kinds of cool stuff with that. And same thing with Vol'jin. But even if you're playing a more meta hero, let's say like a Hooktusk or like a Maligos, the chance that you can get a pair of Wrathweavers is really high. And I think once you have a pair of Wrathweavers, you get +4/+4 for playing a demon. When you look at that tempo on tier 1, that's crazy, right? We're talking 2/3 of a jug on tier 1 on units that you're keeping, and the unit that you're playing is also useful because you're most of the time playing an Icky Imp. Like it's incredible just how much tempo you're getting. And for my playstyle right now, the Weaver is so good because even though you're taking damage by playing the demons, you're winning your fight. So in the big picture, you are saving health. And something I like doing a lot is if I feel like I don't have what I need from tier 1 yet, I'll stay on tier 1 extra round. And that means that instead of being weak and taking damage, you have these 7 and 9s, or you have these 9/11s or whatnot, and they do a really good job at winning the fight while you look for your 4 drops. Then you have your weaker minions that are supporting your revenge. So let's say you have 2 Wrathweavers and then a light spawn. You still have 4 slots on your board. Excuse me. So those 4 slots could be 2 Icky Imps, 2 Acolytes. That would be best case scenario. But it can also just be like Micromummy or Scallywag or anything that's avenge friendly. And then instead of being on 20 health and you're like, oh man, I'm almost have to get out of the milk already and get like some big elementals in or so, you're on 30 and you're strong, and you might even Argus those weavers. And then you have choices actually. Once you have avenge minions, you can kind of see, okay, am I going to keep this weaver the whole game? If you're going to keep the weaver the whole game, I wouldn't Argus, because it just means that you're going to just make the weaver very vulnerable to a poison Amalgadon or a spore or a Maxna, and that's just not very good. So it's just this unit that allows you to either use it for tempo and then ditch it, or you get a Doomsayer and you just say, okay, I'm just going to play demons, and then later on I'm just going to add my own poison. I'm going to get my Reborn Maxnas in, and I just have like this big Wrathweaver and maybe a big Fernal in the back, and then the rest is just poison and selfless, and that's also very good. So it's just a unit that I wanted to talk about because I feel like it's a really really good unit that I pick up all the time. But even just talking about it in the roundtable, it was very people were very standoffish on Weaver. It's just like, I don't know, it's a little risky, and what if you never see the second one, etc.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, especially in the round table, right? There was a lot of discussion about this menu in particular, just because it doesn't do avenge stuff, right? Like, that's really like everyone's so tuned into that. Avenge is the way, you know, and it just doesn't really do it right. But I do think there's a lot of pluses with this. Just picking up one if you can, and especially if you have two. If you have two, it's kind of a no brainer. Even when we're talking about it, like once we start talking about two of them, they're like, yeah, two of them is obvious. But like even just one having that little bit of a safety net, a little bit of a buffer to do a little bit more risk in the early game is quite nice. And you can't get two without one. I'm just gonna say that right
Yeah,
now. So
exactly.
it doesn't, especially when like it's like first turn or second turn, you see one and or you see like something with a token, right? It's not like you have like that many options turn one. Like Wrathweaver is generally fine. It ties with a lot of stuff. It's a chroma wing, same stat line, turn one and stuff, and it just has upside. So I do think um that maybe it's not undervalued with like high players, but like it's under respected, I guess would be the word I would say. So yeah, definitely an interesting minion. It's one of the more interesting designs I think in all of Battlegrounds. Just like kind of reminds me of Homunculus, but Homunculus is horrible. Take it
Yeah,
two, like
awful.
come on, you can't do this to us. And
Oh
when you
god.
combine it and Wrathweaver, you're taking like 4 damage. It's like what is this? Like
Yeah.
a little bit crazy. But I think Wrathweaver a little bit has a sweet spot of like early power to like early damage and making you're transferring the damage right back into power so that you don't take more damage. So I do like the hero.
I think you bring up a great point as well with the homunculus, and that part of why Wrathweaver feels so good now is that one of the cards you really, really want to buy regardless is Icky Imp, and Icky Imp is a demon, so it's just free synergy on top of that. It's like, because even if you just get one Weaver and one Icky Imp, that is really
That's
good.
quite good, yeah. Yeah.
That is a 3/5 and a really good Avenge minion for buying 2 minions on tier 1. That is really good. And then you just have upside after that. You might get the second Weaver and a demon. You might get the second Icky Imp.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and there's no need to chase the Golden Weaver if you don't get the second one early. It's totally fine to never buy the second one and just have this like large
9,
tier 1 minion.
11 or something, yeah.
Yeah,
Just in
it's
the
just like
early
there's
game.
nothing wrong with that. And then you just play that card as long as you would normally play it. And when it's the weakest card on your board, you can rotate it out. And like, yeah, maybe you want to get rid of it slightly earlier if you're strong and you're gonna, play some. Let's say you're gonna play a Malgadon, and you're like, I don't want to take this damage, and I want extra tribes. And yeah, you can get rid of it then. But I think on most boards, it's perfectly fine to keep Weaver for quite a while until it's your weaker minion.
Too scared of taking that guaranteed like 3-4 damage. Like, I starting the game at 37 if I buy this. Oh no. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess it's just this mental block, right? Where like, like I don't want to play demons or something, right? It's like you don't have to play demons if you've got a Wrathweaver on your board. It
should
just
be
means
wanting to play demons. Demons pretty good.
it just means that you have the freedom to play demons if they are presented to you, because then I think it's good, right? If you can play Doomsayer demons, that is just a good place in the meta. Um, but it also just gives you the freedom of like, hey, I just have this big dude on the board and I'm not taking damage, or at least not taking damage from the fights. I can play whatever I want. Like I can milk that light spawn for an extra turn or two, because instead of taking 9 damage at the end of extra fight, there's this big ass Wrathweaver that's protecting me. Like, especially if the triple Wrathweaver is the one that pulls the light spawn, that's so good, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you pull like a matron, the ring matron, the demon
Yeah.
on tier 4. You get this great avenge fodder, and you get +4/+4 on your golden Wrathweaver, which you, in that scenario with the light spawn, you would Argus it, so then it protects his light spawn for ages. And yeah, just overall in this, maybe when the meta shifts and we don't look as Icky Imp as this must buy slam dunk card, yes, maybe Wrathweaver will lose some potential, but right now it's just a lovely one drop.
I don't think Wrathweaver's ever been like bad though. Like where
I I was definitely guilty of underrating this minion, and it was really when I think it was Purple in particular. I was just watching just how much he was going crazy for like Purple was the first person I saw play like a Silas and stay on tier 1 and like actively use the tickets to try and get Wrathweavers. Is like, wow, mind blown. This is something I would have never done. Like, this was tier 1 way before tier 1 was very common, which is normal because tier 1 became very popular now that 4-drop Avenge minions are so good. But it was really cool to see that. And I think since then I started experimenting a bit more. This is months back, but it's I definitely underrated this minion for a while, because
oh.
once I made that mental click of like, oh, big stats on my board equals I can play what I want. That's like, okay, of course Weaver's great. Yeah.
You make it sound so simple.
It's like, yeah, I was like, it turns out if you have a strong board, you can actually like buy other cards and do stuff with them instead of, dying and having to play whatever Bob gives you.
All right. Moving on. I believe we have. Yes. We want to talk about the meta. Things have changed, right? There was a whole patch. Things have been shaken up. They've really changed a lot. Really big changes here. And
We
I
we,
just
covered, we covered this one, all right, or not? Or
no. Well, we talked about the patch notes, right? But
okay.
now I want to talk about like how does the meta feel after the patch notes, Shady?
Oh, like
How
the
does it
in the
change?
field, the in the
Yeah,
field
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. I'm coming to you live, Shady. We're in the battles. What do you think about the patch now that things have changed? Life spawns at 2-5. How much difference does that make? That kind of thing.
Nothing whatsoever.
What? Nothing? What do you mean nothing?
I'd say,
What?
I'll say if you take perfect lethal on a scabs, you're like, damn, that 2 armor man, I could have. That might matter.
You think that's the most impactful change they added?
No, so like and to be fair, right? Once again, I it's so easy to sit here and just riff on this and be like,
Let's do it.
nice nerf, lol, right?
Man, but I hear you. I hear you.
There is a bigger content patch coming, and they did put out like, hey, we know this is probably not what you guys wanted, but we didn't feel comfortable making a more fundamental change to the card before the big content drop, right? So I would assume, let's say the big content drops and we're like, nice, new cards or new mechanic or whatever, let's go back to Lightspawn. And if that's the case, like they're probably going to nuke it out of orbit. I would hope so, because it would be like, all right, now stop, play with the new cards, stop playing with the, if there are new cards or, just anything. When they say like give big content, something about the game is about to change, right? So either be it big nerfs or new cards or I don't know what.
New event, Dark Moon prizes version 2.
I thought you were going to say new Avenge Mini. I was like, yeah, let's. I mean, Avenge isn't necessarily a bad mechanic. It's just right now the Avenge cards are so strong. I mean, it does make it feel that way. Either way, to comment on your, to continue there, like they did make that statement of, okay, we don't really feel comfortable changing the card. So they know that this is probably not sufficient. And when we look at, like let's say take a look at higher MMR lobbies, there is I would say 0% drop off of people playing elementals.
Yeah.
It has not changed. You triple into a light spawn because one of the more common things is you have acolytes on your board, so your light spawn is protected anyway. It's not really trading with very many things anyway. You don't want it to trade. You don't want it to attack other things. It's not in the front. So, sometimes you're going to take 3 extra phase damage because it didn't finish off a 3-drop or something. So that will happen. So the card is weaker, but in the grand scheme of things, it is so incredibly insignificant when we see just how quickly Lightspawn just makes 20 elementals in the shop, and you just don't care for the most part. So even if it is slightly weaker, where sometimes you take a bit of extra damage, the payoff is so huge that you just couldn't care less. So yeah, that's still extremely see Lightspawn, pick Lightspawn. That's still the reaction for sure.
I gotta be slightly honest. Like the reason this topic exists is like I want to do a GIF because I haven't done a GIF in one of the and I was like, what GIF? And this is the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I can make an explosion. And then I need a topic for that. We're going into theory crafting or like topic building here. 101. I see the picture and then I make the topic. But not really. I mean, I did want to talk about the meta after the patch, just kind of just like a recognition of like, yeah, they did the patch, but it wasn't really a patch. Like it's kind of felt like the same meta since the previous patch.
Yeah, I don't think the patch was really aimed at that. I was thinking it was more like just maintenance, where like, all right, switch some armor around, this and that.
Well, I mean, the patch affected constructed. I think this is more of a constructed patch where it's just like, here's constructed changes and like the Battlegrounds players will complain if we do nothing. So let's
add a few lines.
Let's just put some lines here. We're working on a new content. They hopefully are. So yeah, I just thought it's kind of interesting to see. You can change some stuff, but you can't you can like miss the meta. You can change the numbers around, right? We always talk about how it's so impactful for them to change a 1 to a 2 or a 0 to a 1, right? But like it has to be the right numbers or the right
The right
target.
numbers.
Yeah,
In this
yeah.
case,
Like
changing a 4 to
4
a
to
2
two,
has no
nothing.
impact. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's not where the card gets his power,
yeah.
right? They couldn't care less if my light spawn has less attack.
So it's
Like,
pretty interesting for sure to
and
see.
we brought this up, right? And I genuinely believe if they would lower the HP to 4, you might even like it more, because like how often do you have your light spawn in the back and there's a Meccano tank sniping your 5 HP light spawn and you're just sitting like, no!
I literally have like I
Hmm.
usually have like 2 5s or something, or I have like a 6 or something, and just to give me a buffer. So that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
true.
Like, I gotta think about it a little bit more, because I just like yesterday I just had this brutal game of light spawn back to back Meccano tank after getting 1 or 0 procs. I was just like, oh, okay, my game's over. So I'll have to think about it a bit more. But like, oh, I need a Frank. Like if Mexer and I need some Frank fodder,
Big
some
father.
lightning
That's
rod.
what Wrathweaver is really good for. I just gonna throw that out there.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. But even then, like that gets shot one time, and then the rest of your board is just crap because it's Avenge,
well, then
right? It's
have
icky
it,
and
make it a 9/11, Shady. Come on.
yeah, just give it 11 out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, with Wrathweaver, fair, right? But like, let's say demons are out, then yeah, it's good luck. It's such a. And I've done it myself, and you just look at the board, and you're like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, like I've ruined your game. Like,
Yeah, I've killed you, right? You're dead. Like just
yeah.
when you're going all in on making a light spawn buff, missing a round is somewhat like
It's
skipping a turn.
yeah,
It's just like
yeah.
you've skipped your round, and that's
I
just
remember
imagine.
I remember getting light spawn and then I'm fighting dead guy. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
no.
It's awful. It's super awful. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're just
Really
like,
bad.
no, my whole game plan. Why am I fighting you? It's just like so sad. You're just like, I've lost the
And
game. Yeah.
BG is so tempo heavy that you just, let's say that's TFT, you're like, okay, that sucks. But there's a lot of rounds ahead
Yeah,
of
it's
me.
fine.
I've got a
Yeah.
lot of HP, and I'll be fine. But yeah, like let's say we compare it to like the mercenary setup, and you have like one bad mercenary round. Like let's say you win your first one, you're like, okay, whatever, I'll just start losing now and I'll build up the streak. But in Hearthstone, it's just like, no, that's a turn, and that's incredibly important. You cannot miss a turn in BG. So like you are dead if you miss your turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's yeah, a small patch, basically. Small
Yeah,
patch
slow
and
patch. Yeah.
system maintenance numbers. It is good though that they are adjusting those armor values. I think that they just got to keep on that, and like the galley going down is great, and scabs going down, and I don't
I
know,
mean,
whatever.
but besides the ones we talked about last week, I think that was like Brand and Scally.
Brand Shutter.
Shutter, yeah. Is there any like
Brand,
one that strikes out to you either direction, up or down?
there's probably going to be like one or two. Like
Yeah, but it
shitter.
doesn't jump out at you, right? Like so,
Oh, right.
basically, what we're saying is like the armor values are in a okay spot right now. Is like you're saying I hope they continue adjusting the armor, but I'm asking like, what are you adjusting? Like, is that a priority right now?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, once again, like what kind of a skill level we're taking into the equation, because we could look at something like a Mutinous, which has 0 armor, which in a top level environment, I don't think that's very accurate.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think, yeah.
Sure.
So there are certain heroes where you're like, this doesn't really.
Yeah, I would agree. Mutinous is like the one where I saw it was 0, and I was like, that's weird to me, like just like off the bat, like, but
Yeah.
it's
Like I still like playing Mutinous with demons in for the things that
I
you
gotta be. I've
mentioned.
never liked playing Mutinous, so it's always like weird to me. Like they
So-
like.
I will say, Collins, almost every Mutinous game I play ends up with a giant ass trickster and a baron, and then like a macaw and like poison and shit.
That must be it. I don't do that. Like
Yeah, it's very so when demons. Also, the thing that is really fun is if you are on 5, you just buy a battle master.
yeah,
play it
that I like.
It's super fun. You have a brand. Oh my god, like,
that I
super
like.
fun.
Ooh, that is my
Yeah.
jam for sure. But like generally, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing with this here. Like I'm just leveling.
Essentially, I just look for like I've had like one Mutants game where I didn't get the trickster. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And it's like, what do we do now? Yeah. So, but yeah, something like Agam, for instance, is also really good because whenever you're playing Agam, you just have this like, oh, I gotta sell this thing, but I don't want to. And with Mutas is like, nope, I'll just eat it, right? Board space, here we go.
It
So
sound like a
it's
light fang, just go light fang, mutinous light fang,
yeah,
yeah.
like Lightfang, I'd say would be better on Mutinous, but it's just capped on the +2 around. So
Yeah.
I think now with Gem Splitter in the picture, like that's a bit off topic, but I have been playing a way more Agam. I think in mech lobbies, Agam is great. Where
And
usually
necrolite, I would say.
yeah. Necrolite is amazing. But I'll have these. So I guess the ideal start is you get the brute, right? And you get either Bannerboar or you get the 4/3 that provides a gem. So you get this like 20/20 brute, and then you transfer that off to a deflecto. So you have a big deflecto. And your mid game is just like, okay, I just have this big deflecto with like a reset and a gem splitter. And then either I triple into an agam or I go to 5 and I try to find it. And then you just have 2 mechs, and that's totally fine. You just sometimes I have 3 mechs where I just have like a deflecto, a fish, and a reset taunted. And then you end up playing 3 tribes, maybe 4, and that's super fine because you're still adding a lot of permanent stats. And because you have 3 mechs or so, you have a steady generation of gems, and that is also important. I think when a lot of people play Agam, they're just like move heaven and earth to keep this shitty Murloc or shitty demon and be like, yeah, extra tribe. Otherwise, I'm losing value. But if you are buffing divine shields, that is inherently already more value because I mean you get more value out of your combats because you have divine shields and they work well with gem splitter. So
It's very
that's
true.
something that's something I've been really enjoying. And like something like that with a mutinous would also be good because then you can like play a Pumbaa for a while, and then when it's time for the Pumbaa to go, you just eat him. It goes on to the fish, and you're like, oh, it's so good. So it's just any kind of comp where you're buffing all the time and you usually have a hard time making board space. Like you're very happy to play mutinous.
All my buffs go into the agam, and I just have like a 80-60 agam, and I'm just like,
All right, it just keeps going on there. Well, I mean, eventually you just eat the agam then,
get
right?
the
So,
agam. Oh, my agam. My poor
well,
agam. I'm trying
what
to
you do,
triple it, and
what
you want me to
what
eat it.
you what you do is you have the pair in your hand, right, and you just eat the big one and play the fresh one.
It's rough.
Savages eating a pear. My God, what's he doing?
Yeah. My triple. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, just not a big patch. The meta really hasn't changed much, if at all. The armor changes were cool, but I don't think they're like drastic changes are necessary. Like besides maybe Shutterwalk. Like Shutterwalk's the only one that I'm just like yeah. But other than that, like armor is okay. It's maybe like moving a couple of spots at most. So yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, last topic we have today is optimizing, making your light spawn feel like light spawn. That's what came to my head. But yeah, I feel like the job here do nothing. Like your light spawn's already done. Like you're done. But we could do better. So light spawn is very important in the meta, right? And there are some key like tips I guess you should keep in mind when you are playing this minion, or at least focusing on it in the minion that Shady will comfortably provide for us, since I don't feel like talking.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because it's such. I think it's one of those almost taboo topics where you're like,
Don't give
oh,
them tips on this. Like I hear you.
like,
I hear the
yeah,
complaints
exactly.
already.
It's like, oh man, light fun is already so brain dead. Like, of course, you don't have to do like that. That is one of probably my favorite slash least favorites moments in chats where you pull an avengement and people are like, GG, games GG, walk away, just first place every time.
Peppa, leave. I got you. I hear you, dude.
Every time, right? You're just sitting there like, yeah, guys, of course. Like, I hit a light spawn on 9 gold, and I should just ask them to leave. To be honest, it's very rude.
No one else has done this before.
Yeah, it's always first place. And yeah, the thing is like the I would say the first thing with light spawn, and everyone has probably a different way of playing this, and honestly if it works for you, keep doing it. But if you have these games where you pull a light spawn early, you're like, I came in 5th, what the hell, a lot of the time it's don't level to 5.
I knew it. I knew you were
You're
gonna tell
gonna
me
have to,
this. Yeah.
And
Level
especially
to
when you're
6,
triple.
guys. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
what's the
No, I mean,
opposite of the voice of reason? What's the? Because
you're
I
gonna
agree
be
with
the
you.
chaos, right? You're gonna
Yeah,
be
the
the
voice
chaos.
of chaos. Level to 6, just
I
play.
do it.
I
Like,
do it
you could
every
triple into
time.
Hamu. You
It's
could
so
triple into
safe.
Hamu. You're gonna roll a bunch of Hamus and Felbats, and it's gonna be beautiful. Just do it. Just do it.
I was like, we were watching a streamer play
Yes,
a game,
I was
right?
thinking the
Yeah,
exact. We were
yeah.
watching a tournament. We're watching a
Oh,
tournament,
it's
and
her. Yeah, okay.
yeah. You go. You tell the
Yeah,
story.
we were just like we were just having fun, just watching the tournament together, and it was like he tripled. He got the light spawn, right, and then
Yeah.
you were like, okay. So if he wants to be safe here, he just stays on 4, just plays a comfortable tier 4 game. And I was like, no, he could go to 6, like it's fine, like just go to he could go to 6, it's fine. And then you were like, you're bringing up a point there. He was like, there's a chance. He was like at 30 or something. Right, like
Yeah.
very, very healthy. I was like, he was like, there's a chance he loses this battle, and then he's like 1 turn away from death. And then I thought about, I was like, that's possible, but what's the chance of that? Like, like you just go to 6, right? And he decided to level the next turn, right? He took like 16, right? And then he had like 15 left, right? Yeah, he was like perfect lethal from death. Or no, he took like
Yeah, so it was like
took 15, and then he was like,
let's say he's like 29, and he takes 14, and he's
yeah,
now
yeah,
15.
something like that. He was like perfect lethal from death, and I was like, ooh, if he levels, now like he could definitely die. And I was just like, you bring up a really good point, Shay, where if he just stayed on 4, there's no chance of that happening, right? But he decided to be greedy, right? He had like full milk, but it wasn't a good situation for him, and especially he had to look at who his opponent was. I think that's something he didn't really understand, like look and see like, oh yeah, the chance of taking 15 is very high here,
Yeah.
but he just decided to level, and then bam, like 2 turns later he dies, and it's just like it was like a guaranteed like top 2 or something if he just stayed on 4, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can get bad shops even if you don't level, but
Right,
then
right.
you could, right? But yeah, in most games, if you're gonna, so I would go one further and say that I believe that even if you have an opponent where you can guaranteed get away with leveling, it might not be correct.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
like leveling a 6 is the chaos. Like it's not. I wouldn't recommend. Like you have to know what you're doing. That's the thing. Right?
It's
If you
absolutely a pilot thing, right?
yeah.
If the pilot feels comfortable and sees the window, and especially if Murlocs are in, you might just be like, all right, well, we'll do some Malgadon stuff, and because then you turn your light spawn board, which most of the time is gonna take first place if you have like the Golden Wind Fury and you milk properly, etc. If you can turn that into an Amalgadon board, then you're really safe, right? Because then you've got like Poison Divine Shield, and the Amalgadon is huge because it came from the shop,
Yeah.
etc.
If you're leveling to 6, like just like you're giving the safe line. I'm gonna give like if you're gonna go chaos style, you're using the light spawn for tempo, and that's very different than using the light spawn to win, right? That means like you hit a light spawn, you get the pump, and then you like that turn use that pump to get stronger so that you can level, right? You're not using the light spawn to be okay, this will be my engine for the late game. You're like for example, you immediately hit like the Divine Shield Elemental or something, right? And you buy that, you level that, you buy that, right? Then you're like you don't feel that weak, and you like, okay, I can take that, right? But the real key is if you can get 2, if you can somehow like get 2 elementals in there where you're feeling good, like a double divine, or like divine and like the overkill, or the buff one is also really good if you're leveling, right? Smogger's also like
you go to 5, you add a 9 number, that's supposed to be your board.
Like that then
those are the turns.
That's when you're like it makes sense to go straight to 6 because you feel strong. But if you're just like still pumping, still milking, you're just like leveling. I'm not gonna take damage. I'm just gonna level. Like who's gonna deal 15 to me? You just have a 2/5, dude. Like you're gonna take the nuts. Yeah.
I can say that the psychology behind leveling, and then this got to me at the start when I was exploring how to play with Lightspawn, is you have this board that is, let's say, let's start with the beginning. Let's say that you have tripled into your light spawn, and you have, let's assume you have your acolytes and you have your Ikiums, and you're thinking that I don't want to sell
Sell
these
any of
minions.
these. Yeah. I see
So
what you're
why
saying.
am I rolling on 4 if I want to keep all these triggers? And I think that is usually the thing that says, oh, well, I will just invest
Level.
my
Yeah.
money into leveling then. And then next turn, I will start buying elementals when they are bigger already. And I think that that is the flaw that gets you. It's because you don't necessarily get strong enough by buying elementals, but you get strong enough by tripling elementals. That is a real power with Lightspawn, because you don't just get one big dude, you get 3 big dudes in one. Like if you get either golden light spawn, or you get golden overkill, golden whirly, even golden
Sell elemental. Yeah, let's
yeah,
go.
reroll, golden reroll elemental. It's so good.
Oh,
And
I said
it's
sell elemental, but okay.
oh yeah, I mean just anything like elemental,
Yeah,
even the little
Smogger.
one,
Yeah,
the little 1/4, if you triple
yeah,
that, like
yeah.
I triple that all the time because it's a 1 drop, and it's like nobody has it on their board, so you have no competition, and it's a 1 drop, so there's tons of them. And then suddenly you have this like 40/40 minion on your board early in the game, and
Out
you're
of
just like, okay,
nowhere. Yeah.
nobody touches me now, right? So now you can continue, and then you can maybe level to 5 and look for a Nomi or something. But it's really that initial triple that you really want on the board to be safe, because you are not safe until you've tripled. Or let's say, you have a double light spawn and you're milking super hard, and you have like these already 25/25 divine shield elementals. Sure, you're also safe. But in most cases, you got to triple. And if you level early, that's just an entire turn you didn't have to roll. So something I do very often is, let's say you have that good milk setup, I will just buy a reroll elemental, put it in my hand. I'll buy a overkill elemental and either sell one thing for it, or still leave it in my hand if I have a really good milk setup and my health is high. Because I do believe that you have to push the avenge triggers. If you sell your milk stuff too early, you are going to fall behind.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you have 0 elementals in your hand ready to transition, and then you expect to roll into 5 elementals to replace your board, and that's not going to happen. So this is really the thing is, and especially if you do triple, it can be a very gradual transition where you say, I have this 40/40 to be strong, I can keep 2 acolytes. And those are the really cool games. Or let's say you've tripled your light spawn and you have this random triple anomaly, and you're strong enough to keep 2 acolytes. That's where you get the silly stats, right? That's where
That's
you,
when people start complaining. Where
yeah, that's when you're
they're
just so,
fighting you, you're full milk, and you beat them.
yeah, yeah. But that's what happens if you have an early
Yeah,
triple. You
yeah, for
still win the
sure.
fight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's really, I think that's where a lot of people lose a lot of their potential MMR when they do hit an early light spawn, is they level early or they don't go for the triple. And like usually what I will just do is I will roll for the good elementals, but sometimes, as I mentioned, I will just have a triple on a Selly, because pairs are really important. So I will value a pair over almost anything. So sometimes you just roll 2 Sallys or whatever, and then you just have this like 40/40 elemental, and that's fine. Right? You don't have to sell. You can sell it later once it's relatively small and you want either reroll triggers or Nomi triggers. But this all happens on tier 4. Like if you expect to go to 5 and then still have all the money and all the time in the world to get this going, you're most likely not going to be able to do that. So
Right.
I'd say those are the 2 things that you watch out for. It's don't level early and start collecting pairs so you can find the triple. And if the pair is a utility card, like obviously Lightspawn is the best pair you can get at that stage. But the Wraith that rerolls for free, if you can get that golden, that's just a triple machine, because every elemental is an extra 4 rolls. It's absolutely crazy. The Divine Shield elemental is obviously phenomenal triple. The Overkill elemental is a phenomenal triple. But yeah, Smogger is totally fine. Like you play 2 Smoggers, you get the +4/+4,
Triple
then you
smogger,
triple
dude.
another
It's
+8
it's
plus
so
8, and
nuts.
then
Yeah. Like,
so pretty much any elemental you can triple is going to stabilize you, assuming that all of the components were buffed by light spawn. Sometimes you'll triple into like a, or what's it called, the 4/4 that gives you an elemental in your hand, but then that one isn't buffed, and then the triple A isn't as massive. So
another thing I want
that's
to mention,
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
which since you is just keeping a gem or two. Like sometimes you are forced to take the 3-1, or you have like a 1-2. The 1-2 is not really something you're forced to, but the 3-1 sometimes you just like forced to take that, and then like you see another one, you're like, okay, I'll go for that, and you end up that would be the triple to get a 4, right? Keeping the gems, making this start as a 3-6 instead of a 2-5, right? Like it saves a lot of problems because a 3-6 doesn't get sniped or stuff. It doesn't get tanked. It doesn't get murdered, right? It's very likely to hit something and still be alive, and then you cleaned up with the rest of your stuff. So like, if you can put yourself in the, like, I wouldn't force this. Like, this is something you don't want to, like, oh yeah, Colin said buy the 3-1 over. Let me skip that. Let me buy that instead of Iki. I'm like, I'm not.
Similar to Mukla, right? There's a Mukla in your lobby, and you're playing tier 1. All of the time, like most of the time, I'm just holding those bananas.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
because it's not only it makes it safer, it's probably going to save you a lot of HP. So, because let's just talk about, let's say, Doomsayer for a moment. A 2-6, those stats are kind of ass when it comes to like combat, but you make a 4-8, wow, that's good for combat early. That's, that value trades, that kills 2 things. So that's a big deal. So yeah, it's a, like, sometimes you have to sell bacon, right, to make the money work, or you have to buy a Geomancer pair. I think a Geomancer pair isn't even the worst pair ever.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
I think this happens on 5 gold when it's like 2 Geomancers in the shop and a dragon. I'm
yeah,
just like, okay,
yeah, something
I'll
like
just
that.
buy 2 Geomancers, and then you get the third one.
That's what I'm talking about, exactly.
Yeah. That's how they sneak in there, right? Like this +4/+4, that's good. If you get +4/+4 on your light spawn, you're talking 9 HP to start with.
Yeah, but some people, they'll get that gem and then they'll slam it, right? And I always feel like
3/3, go.
Yeah, and I always feel like, I would like, maybe the first gem, if you're getting that triple, like, yeah, it might change things, but like after that first gem, like, you really don't need to put it on things, and putting it on something key, something that you're gonna keep or matters if it stays alive, is like so much more important. So I wanted to mention that, since you didn't toss that in.
Great point.
Yeah, and it literally solves the topic. You want to make your 2-5 a 4-5. You just put 2 gems in it, and now it's a 4-7. It's the same basically. It's that easy. Solving the topic, one strategy. Yeah. So that is something I do think that's pretty interesting. Just because Light Swan's so important. Like Nest Matron, right? Like we don't talk about Nest Matron enough, right? But it does something very similar. Some people prefer Nest Matron over Light Swan. I just think Light Swan's like easier and less prone to failure, I guess. So
I think that the Nest Matron has this tag, "Don't try this at home, kids." When you see a streamer, like I have this sometimes where I have these games where you just have like 7 cards in your hand on tier 6.
Yeah, and you have to transition in one turn or something.
Yeah, but I just read comments in the chat as like, if this is my hand, I have anxiety right now. I'm just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. There's too many options. There's not enough time. I'm gonna die with a handful of cards, and I'm gonna feel miserable.
You're gonna feel horrible. Yeah,
that's something that we don't admit enough, where that definitely happens. So that, like, something I've started doing when I have these crazy Nest Matron turns, where I think just yesterday I had this game where, or was it maybe earlier this week, it doesn't matter, I had this game where I had 2 Primal Fins with a Nest Matron, and like the third one popped in the shop on tier 6, and it's just like, it's so much potential, where you play the first one, you play the second one, you buy the triple, you play it, you pull the Amalgadons, you get the triple from the Primal Fin on top of that. And something I just started doing was just like, okay, put Murlocs on your board, make them large, preferably have a 7 or 2 so you get poison, and then fit in Amalgadons, because I've been struggling so much with like those turns. I've died so often where I tried to keep the tribes, when, like, if you get Amalgadons early in that turn, fine, it's great. You have tribes on your board from the early game, and you can play the Amalgadons now. It's when you play that Primal Fin, the Amalgadons don't show up immediately. That's when you kill yourself. It's like, no, I get to keep these tribes and get the Amalgadon. It is like when that happens, I just go into, okay, I didn't get the Dongs, it's fine. Make huge Murlocs, and then I'll figure out a way to put Amalgadons in there later. And that worked for me. But like these huge high pressure turns with Nest Matron, something I just learned is most of the time when we're doing a transition, it's going to be Murloc related, just because that's where all the APM is with the Primal
or dragons.
Sure. Or a mix where you have dragons and Amalgadon. And
it's like double Kelly amalgam, right? Like,
yeah.
Then you're like,
but then,
okay.
like,
I guess it's easier. It's easier, huh?
It's more obvious,
okay,
right?
that's fair. That's fair.
You can probably manage
I could,
finishing your
yeah,
hand when you're like,
yeah,
I have
that's,
Callies on my board and just
uh,
buying some battle cards. It's really those Murloc transitions that take a lot of like prep. So that's just the tip for anyone that's been trying them, is just keep it simple. If you have a bunch of Murlocs to discover, just like have a brand, have maybe one large minion that you have from the early game, and then the rest is just a bunch of Murlocs, and then just ram all those buffs on the board, get those Begurgles out, get those Seers out, get those Felfins out, and then stabilize that turn. And then next turn you get the take a breath and be like, all right, let's see what my board looks like. I now have, maybe the Nest Matron stayed on the board, maybe she was sold, and then you have your tier 6 gaming turn where you can, maybe you still had a card or two left in your hand, you have a chef left or whatnot, and then you can actually start playing the game. But for me at least, it happened a lot where I had that turn where it was life or death, and it ended up being death, where I had this huge turn with Nest Matron and I couldn't quite
yeah.
get all the buffs that
I,
I had. Yeah.
I have very similar experiences where it's usually double Nest Matron where I'm just like,
Yeah, it's just
I
too
like
much.
I have too much options, yeah, and then I'm like trying, and then it's like, okay, I know I have like 2 turns max, right? Let's go. Let's try to, turn things around. And then I'm rolling, right? I have like 30, 20 something
Where's
goals,
the
maybe.
brand? Where's the brand?
Yeah,
Where's the
yeah.
brand?
I'm like rolling for random Algadon and I'm like not hitting it. Then like halfway, I'm like, okay, I need to fight something else to do. Is there Kelly? It's just like, and then like the time's ticking, you have like, and then you see like I hate it, right? There's like 20 seconds left and then you see everything. And then you're like, no, you're like inside, you're like, well, they gave it to me. So like,
I'm dead. Yeah.
you're just like, okay, I have to try. And it's just like, oh
That's
no.
more just like a broader tier 6 gaming thing. I think when you're rolling and you don't see specifically those cards, where I just that's how I probably play more Buster now. Where if I see a Buster, like let's say I don't have the brand and I don't have like a crap ton of Murloc buffs or whatnot, and we're just going power
See,
leveling to 6, that's
see,
where I'll do like Buster stuff
the
more
issue
often.
for me is that I have 20 gold. So I'm just like, no, I'm not settling for a buster, and then like then I have 10 gold and I'm like,
Yeah, it's
okay,
sure,
maybe.
right? You buy one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I think it's just good. So like we could expand this topic. I want to like stretch out too much, right? Stretch out the podcast too much. But
Yeah, we do it every time. Don't worry about it.
yeah, I mean we're passionate about the game, and like you touched on something that I'm especially passionate about, tier 6 gaming. Hey, like I love going to
When
6 and
did this
play there.
happen, dude? That was my thing.
I know, and
Now you're
then you
taking
weren't
it from
playing
me.
as much, and then I started playing a lot. I was like, hey, this tier 6 thing's pretty fun. The I like the main thing I'd say is you need to just identify a couple of cards that are just going to be almost auto picks, and I think Maxna is one of them right now, because obviously you find one
Right.
reborn, like
Yeah.
that's just a unit, like that's
Yeah.
taken care of. That's, you have 6 slots remaining. Well, 1 slot, don't worry about it. That's about as good as it gets. So Maxna you buy. Depending on the board, you could buy Goldrin, but probably not, right? Like, so it'll be Maxna, it'll be Amalgadon, it'll be Bran, it'll be Primal Fin, Chef, Rag, Caligos, right? Those are all those cards. And then recently for me also Omega Buster, because I've
And
had these
Eliza?
turns.
And Eliza?
Yeah, Eliza's in there. Like, there's probably going to be a few cards that
Okay.
I haven't mentioned, right?
Okay.
These are
Okay.
off the top of my head. Eliza as well, right? And even something like a Tony, depending on what you already have. Let's say you have an Acolyte left over, you've just bought an Eliza, sure, I'll buy a Tony. Or you bought a
Yeah,
Hogger,
sure.
yeah, sure, I'll buy a Tony. Like
Once you buy
that
the
was a game.
Eliza, it opens up other things to buy.
Yeah,
Essentially.
yeah, exactly. Maybe a Scallywag. That's totally fine. If you have to buy a Scallywag on tier 6, the turn you arrive there and you already have a Scallywag, you already have an Eliza, that's fine, because you're adding +4/+2 to your entire board, and you're opening up the scam routes. That's
Yeah.
okay. Now, obviously, like your ideal scenario is you open the double Cali, you open the brand Primal Fin. Like that's the no-brainer, right? Those are the easy tier
Come
6
on.
games. You're like, oh, I'm already rolling, right? I'm already rolling. It's good, right? But the thing is, like, you can't get the 2 Busters if you don't buy the first one. You can't get the 2 Calis if you don't buy the first one. You can't get the
And
2
yeah.
Rags if you, et cetera, et cetera.
Kelly
So
is
that's,
something that I'm pretty comfortable just buying one and then never playing it.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that's totally fine. And
yeah.
that was my argument with the Buster, right? Like, you buy one, and like if it ends up being an adaptation for an Amalgadon, like sure, that's fine, and then you just throw it out. Because sometimes it's fine to just run that Buster for that
Or
turn. If you have
tempo, yeah.
one Amalgadon and let's say like something that's modular, that's 2 mechs. That's still, what is it, like +8/+8 to your board, and it bumps Divine Shields, and that's fine.
Prox Avenge because you're still keeping the nest
Yeah,
matron.
you still have that. Yeah, of course. Like, hey, if we're under damage cap, then yeah, of course we don't sell the matron. Sometimes you will. I think that if you are feeling the heat of I need to go, then especially if you have to puzzle with Amalgadon adaptations, it's like, okay, just sell the matron. I think if you're really comfortable and you have time, like you can say, okay, no, I'm gonna go for -1 tribe. I'm just gonna play this Amalgadon like this. But I think if you're struggling, just like sell the matron because you already have a brand most of the time, and then you're gonna want to have 1 or 2 cards you want to keep on top of that, or rather that you shouldn't sell, right? Like let's say you have that large Wrathweaver, like I probably shouldn't sell my 28 Wrathweaver.
I mean, I can probably make it work. Like, who really needs that?
That's 3 or 5 patrons.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, this damage cap. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like,
I'm gonna take 1 damage from this Amalgadon if I don't sell this Weaver, so I have to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, that's sort of that's the pattern I follow. Where I mean, you do that too, right? It's just that it just helps. I think when you say, okay, those cards are gonna buy, and then sometimes, let's say there's like a Reborn Snake and a Coiler in the same shop, like don't hesitate. That's fine. You have a Reborn Coiler, that's strong, and then either that's because that's probably something that's gonna be able to allow you to keep your Nest Matron, and then you have a Reborn Coiler and a Nest
With a
Matron.
Nest Matron, I love that.
That might be 4 or 5 cards, right? If you're lucky. So that's
come on, dude. That's 4 or 5.
No.
I see it. I could definitely see it. Like,
I've had that for sure. You get like a Void Lord off the Coiler. It's like, oh my god, so many buffs.
But that's like unfair, right? Like just the fact that can happen is just like not okay. It's not okay. Like what? There's something wrong with the game, or like.
And then 2 of those cards are 6-drops. You get like a Hamul and a Chef. You're like,
why is there no cap to avenge? Like I don't know. Someone needs to ask. Why is there no cap?
No cap. All right.
But yeah.
All right. That's it for my extended Lightspawn tutorial, where somehow we ended up on tier 6 gaming, which
what a surprise! Who would have guessed that it would end up that way? But yeah,
we ending up on tier 6. No,
I thought you said stay on 4. What's going on here? Anyways, that shall be our podcast for today. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for participating. Thank you, Shady, for always being here, being our constant co-host, and being nice.
Always a pleasure, Collins.
Appreciate all the feedback. Send us improvements, comments, whatever you like. hsbgpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Educatedcollins _. It would be nice if I could change that, but I've been too lazy to care. You can find Shady Bunny, Twitch, Twitter, all that fancy stuff. And I think that's about it. Any closing thoughts here?
Nah, just on to another great, 40 episodes, right? We're closing in on that, so right. It's been super fun.
Another 40 episodes. Oh god, how many topics is that?
It's gonna be big patches in there, man. It's gonna be big patches in there.
There definitely are, but yeah, got keep in mind we've got 2 tournaments coming up this week and next week, so if you like that, feel free to join us there. Root for your favorites. Root for Shady. You know what? Nah, fuck. Imagine being a caster and not having a buy. Root for Shady. I want to see the Shady chance as we go in there. I will be disappointed if I don't. Other than that,
I will do my best.
You better do better than your best, dude. I'm not only your best, dude. Slacking. Dude.
The pressure, man. It's gonna get to me.
I'll just say, I always say we'll do the best, and that's what matters. Like that's what I always say in my tournament. So I don't know why I'm giving you this harsh judgment. Just do your best. That's the only thing that matters. That's all I require from you. If you do that, I'll be happy. I'll be proud. So that shall be it from us today. Hope you see us tomorrow, winning or casting well. Whatever that criteria is, and take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful week. Hope you guys enjoyed your holidays, and we'll see you guys next time.